Okay, so yeah, we do have new questions for you, actually.
Okay. All right. I'm ready.
Awesome. Can we start with just the basic intro that you did last time, your name and your involvement in Warrior Nun, and then
Yes, of course. So my name is Ames. I'm a singer-songwriter, and I co-wrote and performed the song "Hymn for Her," which was featured in Warrior Nun. And yeah, I'm happy to be here.
what other things have you been involved with the Warrior Nun community?
I wrote a song, or part of a song, for the Halo project a couple of weeks ago, for the prompt "In This Life." Um, and I've just, I've it's been really um, enriching to meet so many of the Warrior Nun, the fandom, basically, like the community that's been put together. And I've never quite met um, met people like you all and the community that you've built around Warrior Nun, and trying to get the season 3 and just the love that you all show for each other, and the commitment, the motivation, and the encouragement, and the lack of just, there's no judgment. I feel there's no judgment, that everyone is so supportive in the community. And immediately, like right after my song was placed, and I saw it in the episode, and within a few days, members of the fandom started reaching out. And I've been doing music. I've been writing music for a long time, and I've had songs placed in shows before. Um, and there's always, like, I meet a few people here and there, but I've yet to experience the warmth and the friendships that I've encountered with the Warrior Nun community. That's not happened before, and it's very, in my experience, very rare that as a whole everyone seems to be an extension of each other, if that makes sense. Which is a really beautiful thing. It's rare. You always kind of you'll find like a few friendly people, and then some that it's kind of disjointed. But I feel like you all move as a body, and you're very organized, and you're very honest and sincere, and especially in 2023, I feel like that's not really found very much, unfortunately.
You're right about that. I like the whole "we move as one."
Well, yeah, it's like someone gets an idea, someone else announces it, and then it just happens. It becomes the thing. And I noticed, I mean, I saw that in the flesh when I was driving to, getting off the 101, and saw the sign, the billboard across from the Netflix headquarters. And I pulled over and took a photo, because I was just like, oh my God, they did it. This is crazy. It's beautiful to watch, and it's motivating, because, like I said, I've been doing this for a long time, and I mean, there's ups and downs for sure, but it's just beautiful to see people can connect via social media and from all over the world, and form these connections, and move as one. And it seems like everyone has kind of the same intentions and the same sincerity, which is really, really, really beautiful to see.
I've never had to learn about time zones before until this fandom. And now it's like the app on my phone.
Yeah, same.
I'd say time zones are probably still a work in progress, fandom wide, to be fair.
Yeah.
It's a real thing. It's a real struggle.
Especially when daylight savings time happened.
Oh, no.
I didn't know that the US did it differently than the world.
Not, I didn't either. That's yikes.
Yeah. So, what like genre or style do you say that your songs are mostly?
Um, I would say like alternative. Some are alternative pop, I would say, and then some are pretty straightforward singer-songwriter. I have some songs on Spotify that are just pretty stripped down. Like Mama It's Me is just vocal and guitar. Um, and that's kind of how I used to present my music. Is I changed my artist name in 2015, so I went by my full name, Amy Kuney, for many years, and that was a bit more of the singer-songwriter vibe, where it was vocal, guitar, and very organic sounds. And then when I switched over to Ames in 2015, I brought in more elements, like pop elements um, and loops and beats and things like that that I hadn't really used that much before.
Do you like to stick with a particular style or do you like switching and have a variety?
I like to have a variety. I used to be really kind of precious about keeping a genre and keeping it, pure and not letting other things influence me. And that I realized that was just uh, it just it really put a dampener on the inspiration and the creativity because I'd be in a session and I might have an idea or somebody else might have a really good idea to do something else and I would kind of discourage it because it didn't make sense for what I thought I was supposed to sound like. And I think that has just changed with time because I do work with younger artists as well that still kind of have that mindset of like, okay, well, I'm this genre and like anything outside of it isn't going to fit and my listeners aren't going to understand or they're going to freak out. And for me, I think just enough time has passed that I'm just like, if if something moves you, um, just go with it. And if it doesn't work out, you can always, not everything has to be released. Um, in fact, I probably only release, I'd say 2 or 3 songs out of 15 or 20 that I write. Um, just because not everything is right at the time. So yeah, I don't know.
Okay, so how long does it usually take for you to write your songs? Like from obviously since you've come under the name of Ames, you've gone more with like production as well. So how long does it take as well, including like how much does the production take as well?
I don't produce my music. I like to be a co-producer at least, or like be in the room to help make decisions and steer things. Um, that's it could take anywhere from 2 days to a month, 2 months. It depends on the schedule of the producer, how much they're able to commit to the project. Um, Sometimes I'm working with producers who are doing multiple projects, so I just kind of have to take them when they have time. Um, Sometimes things come out really really quickly and are produced really quickly, and I like it when that happens because there's not a lot of time for me to second guess. Um, Whereas if I sit on a song for a couple of months, it's like I'm just constantly trying to change things that maybe not don't need to be changed. So I started a song last year, actually, I think in December of last year, that I'm still kind of sitting on because the lyrics just weren't right for it. We cut vocals and everything, and then I realized like listening to it, my concept just wasn't very strong. Like I didn't really have a concept. I was more trying to put lyrics in that sounded cool, and I didn't really consider what the song was actually about. And so I've taken that back now, and I'm rewriting the lyrics and rewriting some of the melodies to have a stronger concept. So if anyone ever asked me what the song was about, I could tell them and not be like, well, what do you think it means? Um, so yeah, but like when I got the prompt for the Halo project in this life, that was really easy because I had just seen Everything Everywhere All at Once. Is that what it's called? Yes. And I was I was just thinking about um, different realities and different time not being linear and different universes, and I was just, my head was full of all of that. And so when the prompt came through, it was like, oh, this is perfect. And that I was able, I mean, I only wrote two verses. I've since written a third, but that took maybe 30 to 45 minutes because I already had like the ideas in my head ready to come out. I didn't have to sit and like ponder. So it really depends. That was a really long-winded answer.
We we find it fascinating. So, how does it work with your producer? Like, do you have to like pay for production time, or is it based on like release and
Um, so that comes down to the splits, splitting the song, which the song is actually in two parts. It's the master, which is the recording of the song, and then it's the publishing, which is the actual what has been written. So the way that I kind of try to explain this, because it's still confusing to me sometimes, is so say a television show wanted to use Michael Jackson's Thriller for one of the scenes, like the actual master recording, which is like you can't duplicate that. It's so iconic. Um, but say the supervisor doesn't have the budget, so what they might do is go to a lesser, not lesser, but an unknown artist and have them cover the song, which is just the publishing, and then they have their own master. They can't afford the master, like the recording of Michael Jackson. So going back to with producers, usually with everyone I work with right now, we split everything 50-50. And so that's half of the publishing and then half of the master, the actual recording. And it's really easy through like DistroKid, for instance, that I use to distribute my music, because you put the splits in manually, and everyone who has DistroKid has a bank, and so immediately, anytime a song gets, not immediately, but every quarter when a song gets streamed and there's money to be made, it gets sent to all the different people. So there's no, on my part, there's no admin. I'm not sitting here like Venmoing my producer or writing a check or something. It's very easy. So everyone I work with right now, it's 50-50 split all the way, unless I take a song that I've already written 100% and ask them to produce, at which point I'll try to give like an upfront fee and then part of the master, and I retain the publishing.
wow,
Yeah.
that's complicated.
I've got a whiteboard back here that has like all my all my percentages and things, because I was with Cobalt Publishing for 7 years. I left them last year. Still on great terms and everything. It was just time for me to to change things up a bit. And I started doing a lot of the admin work myself and realized like how difficult and time consuming it is. And I'm learning a lot, but I'm also just like, anytime I write a song, in the back of my mind, I'm like, oh, I'm gonna have to put the splits in for this, and I'm gonna have to like chase everyone down and get their ASCAP IPI numbers and all that stuff, and make sure everyone gets plugged in correctly. So it's definitely a bit of a task to do it yourself.
For someone who's not music, can you explain what those two terms are?
Which
Was it that? I was getting ready to say ask.
oh, ASCAP, ASCAP.
Is it as cap?
Yeah, it's ASCAP. It's the ASCAP. No,
Yeah.
no, it's not an ASCAP. We don't use those. The American Society of Composers, Authors, and Publishers, and basically it ASCAP ASCAP collects your performance royalties. So, and this is where it gets tricky because it's like that's different from streaming. It's like if someone were to perform a song of mine like on a show, um, like Jimmy Fallon or something like that, they would collect those royalties as opposed to it being just like streamed on a streaming platform. It gets dicey because with TikTok and all the different streaming and social media platforms now, they all kind of fall under different collection agencies. Um, and again, the song is cut in two. It's the master and the publishing, so there's just it's all over. And I'm still learning all that stuff. And I teach songwriting, and a lot of times my students will ask about the publishing side of things. And last time I just took a bunch of screenshots from like Song Trust and just like put that. I was like, here, these are all the different ways that you can collect your royalties. It's just a matter of taking the time to understand where they're coming from. And it's not a very sexy part of the creative process. It's very, I talk about this a lot with the numbers part of things. It's just for me, it's when I'm talking about it, it doesn't sound very sexy.
No, I think I had that same lecture at my music uni, and it was quite possibly the most terrifying lecture I've ever attended, because it was sort of running through like, here's how much you actually get with Spotify, and then it's got all these different licenses, and we're just sat there like, oh, why are we here?
Yeah. Yeah, the Spotify, that's a bit daunting. I think for a million streams, it's about around $3,000 for a million, and then you're splitting that with others. And so, I mean, if you can a body of work, I think that's why some artists will release. Well, I'm trying to think of who. They don't necessarily do just the one album every couple of years anymore. It's like single, 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 single to really build a body of work that can generate lots of streams, which makes sense. But yeah, I think, and I talk about this a lot. I think streaming has definitely changed the way people write, which I don't really like, because you want, everyone wants to be able to eat and pay their bills, but I think sometimes the creative process can suffer a bit because so many people are thinking about that first 30 seconds where you've got your listener has to listen beyond the 30-second mark before you get paid for that. And so a lot of artists, and myself included, we try to put as much information into that 30 seconds as we can, because we don't want our listener to to click next. And so sometimes you just get like hit over the head with 30 seconds of like all kinds of stuff, and then and then the rest of the song is like, oh yeah. But it's fascinating. It's again, it's like not the part that I enjoy, but I've had to educate myself a bit more.
I find it really, I like, because I use DistroKid to like distribute my stuff. I find it fascinating looking at like what you get per like month in Spotify terms, and it's like 3 cents or something. It's ridiculous, but it's not like the cool part of the musician process, but I think it is quite interesting.
It is. It is. If you really, because I think music and songwriting is such like an ethereal cloud in the sky, and then you see the actual bricks of what create that. It is fascinating. It's like it's tangible in that sense.
I've been involved with helping to put together a book with some of the Warrior Nun fan art, and we're going with this little publishing company because the royalties, and it's all going for donation. Like Amazon was like 3% versus, the other companies are a lot more, like 4 times as much. Does that happen with like Apple for you?
I'm not sure. I don't think so. Because what I understand is I pay DistroKid an annual subscription, and they will distribute my music to all of the different platforms. And so I assume that what I'm paying them as a subscription sort of takes care of all of those other fees that would otherwise come. I'm assuming they have a relationship with Apple where they kind of take care of each other. So my subscription to DistroKid kind of takes care of all of that, I think. If that's the case, it's probably a very small fee, I would think. But things also have changed so much just in the time that I started performing and releasing music. So I've kind of lost touch with, there's the main streaming service I feel that most people use is Spotify or SoundCloud or YouTube, and I think educated myself enough in those platforms, whereas the other ones I'm not really sure. I've kind of lost touch. There's whenever, and y'all have probably seen this too, whenever I release something through DistroKid, there's a tiny little line of boxes, and these are all the different streaming platforms, and it's like there's so many, it's impossible to keep up.
I think also because like you've mentioned DistroKid, but there's also other distributors, and they will take different royalties, or they will charge different things. So some are free but don't get your music up for months, and I've been looking at that recently, and that's scary in itself. So there's so many different stages. It's not just like, I have a song, listen, I get money, yay. It's a headache. Yeah.
Yeah, TuneCore is another, and CD Baby is another. Those are I guess the main 3 that I know, the distribution companies. But yeah, DistroKid thus far has been my favorite.
Thank you. It's very helpful. I've been looking at comparison charts, and it's a little bit.
Also, there's Bandcamp as well, and that's very, very artist friendly.
I bought the song, for 99 cents.
So I think with DistroKid, or from my experience with it, is if somebody buys it on iTunes, I get what you've like a much bigger percentage. So if you bought it for 99 cents, I think I would get most of that 99 cents, is how I've understood it. Not many people decide to buy my music on iTunes, so I don't know, but I think that's how it works.
I've got the pay-per-stream thing up here. I don't know how recent this is, but Apple Music is listed as zero point 0.1 cent. I work in pounds. I'm very sorry if that's the incorrect. And then you've got Amazon Music, which is 0.004 cents, right? Spotify 0.0033 cents.
It's crazy.
YouTube Music 0.008 cents. They're all very depressing in summary. So
Yeah. It's
yeah,
not
like
fun.
you need like 303,000 streams to get $1,000 on Spotify.
We can go through my splits on it later if you want, Coco, because I can show you in detail. It's not a fun time.
Deliciously horrifying, yes.
Yeah.
Let her finish her project first, and then let her get depressed with that.
With afterwards, yeah.
Sorry.
Cool.
I'm familiar with the the downside.
I guess we mentioned earlier there's so many talented people, especially within the Warrior Nun fandom. But if we look like kind of as a broader place with like music, is there an artist that you is like your dream collaboration?
Of all time?
Yeah, any, go for it.
Ooh, I would say dream collaboration. Either Fiona Apple or Tori Amos.
Good choices. Yeah.
Yeah.
Is there like why you'd pick those two? Or
They had the most, I think, impact on me when I was a teenager. Growing up, I was raised in a very conservative Christian home, and so my siblings and I weren't allowed to listen to anything secular. It was only classical music or hymns, or church music. Anything without drums. Like my parents were just very, drums lead to sex. um, and my sister, when I was about 16 or 17, she got Fiona Apple's album and sent it to me. And actually, I guess I was a bit younger. And then she showed me Crucify by Tori Amos, and it was the first time that I'd heard like angry woman music, and it just like it lit something that I was just on fire. Oh, I was so inspired and motivated to write my own music. So I think going back to that spirit and like, I don't know, being in the room with someone like that had such an impact on me, I think would just be overwhelming. I don't know if I'd be able to get anything done, but at least, yeah, collaboration, you at least like meet and try things, So yeah, one of the two of those, I would say.
Tori Amos was the first artist I ever met. She's just walking around the city,
What?
the night before the concert, and I was a crazy fan and just totally walked up and probably scared the crap out of her. How do we sign this? I was one of those fans.
I
But
can't
she's
believe
so nice.
I can't believe even then you were shooting your shot at like what anyone could get. I love that.
So are you a fan of Sarah McLachlan?
I am. She wasn't as angry as I wanted her to be.
Right.
She was more soft.
Depressed, like.
Well, like that, and like In the Arms of an Angel and things. I felt like that was just very gentle, very soothing, and I wasn't in that space at the time. I was pretty angry, pretty angsty. Listening back to any of those songs now, though, Sarah McLachlan included, and like Beth Orton and Suzanne Vega, the songs are just incredible, and like Sarah McLachlan's incredible. I think just at the time I needed something to really sharp to hit, and for me that was Fiona, Tori, and like Ani DeFranco. Later on, later on Alanis Morissette, but she was so popular too that I was like, yeah, everyone else likes her. I wanna find like the more, I don't know, obscure. I guess Ani DeFranco is a little bit more obscure. Um,
Yep, I've met her too, and Sarah. So yeah,
Dang,
and I know nothing about music, so
that's
no, but I'm aging myself too because Lilith Fair, high school, huge impact.
yeah,
And Sarah McLachlan, she was the one who inspired that and organized that, and seeing the all women festival. I mean, it was unheard of.
yeah.
So, okay, I'm done. Good.
So, what's your favorite song that that you've written, like the one that you've enjoyed writing the most?
If I've had a bad experience writing a song, I feel like I probably wouldn't release it just because that would just feel strange. So I feel like everything I've released, I've enjoyed writing. I think Mama It's Me was one of my favorites to write because I wrote it by myself. I wrote it's all the lyrics, melody, everything I wrote myself. And it was a song that had been on my mind for a long time, and I'd been kind of like forming it in my mind over time, so that when I sat down to write it, it came out in about an hour, and that felt really good. And I wrote it all out. I sang a voice memo of it, and then I didn't change anything. Um, I didn't change any lyric, anything. And that's rare for me. I felt like when it came out, it was how it should be, and I pitched it to a couple of artists, and I got sort of the same response. Where it was like, you should sing this, you should put this out. And at the time, I didn't really have much out, but I did. It's a letter to my mom, and the recording process too was really easy. I they hooked up a mic for my guitar and my vocals, and I sang through it I think 3 or 4 times, and then we just listened and picked the one that we liked the most, and that was it. It was super super easy.
I think speaking of voice memos, I've seen recently. I don't know if you know Sleeping at Last.
Yes.
Yes, nice. Okay. Every single other person I talk to at uni is like, who? And okay, I'll send you an email. But he recently released To Be Enchanted, which is like a part of his most recent album, I think. And what he's released it kind of twice. One is like To Be Enchanted brackets voice memo. And I think that's a beautiful way to do it, I think, because you can hear the audio quality isn't as good as the proper one after it, but you can hear how it's a voice memo, and it sounds more raw in the way that is, because I don't know if it's like the first time you played through it. I have no idea, but I saw that, and I just thought that was such a nice thing to do with it as well. I hadn't really considered doing something like that, but it was a surprise to see, and it was really nice.
Yeah. Yeah, some people do that. I've never released a voice memo. Um, so I feel like I've never had one that I thought was good enough to release, but I wouldn't be opposed to it in the future if I was able to catch some magic between me and another person. Say somebody was playing and I was singing, or something like that. I mean, I think there are moments that need to be caught, and you can't really replicate those again. Um, so I think there's something really special about, voice memos. Whenever I'm doing sessions with people, I always have my voice memo just running, to catch things, because there's all kinds of moments in the writing process that are just pretty magic, and you have to be paying attention.
Well, we already established that I have no musical talent. But this is a fan submitted question that they were wondering, someone that doesn't have musical talent, what is the thought process that you go through to make music? Do you start with lyrics? Do you start with the actual melody, beat? Where do you find inspiration?
Yes, all of the above. um, some songs I start with just the melody first, like Hold On. It's one of my songs, and it was just the melody, and I was like, so 10 syllables and then 11 syllables. And I sounded the melody out just mumbling over a guitar progression that I really liked. And I wanted the guitar to be nylon, and I wanted it to play this specific progression. And I wanted it to be picked. And the producer that I was working with got everything just immediately down. And so I just mumbled that melody, and then I counted the different syllables that would need to work within that melody. And then I came up with the concept and brainstormed on the concept, and then just kind of would like drop the pieces in that fit. That was a really, usually I have to have a really strong concept, and then that determines the chord progression, the key signature, the tempo. So if I go in and I say, I'm really angry today, I want to write a song about rage, the song is probably going to be fast. It's probably going to be in a minor key. It's probably going to be really busy. And I kind of have an idea of what the lyrics are going to be. And the way that I sing it is probably going to be aggressive. Whereas if I'm feeling sad, it's going to be down tempo. It's going to be in a minor key, but sad. And vowel sounds are also playing a bigger part lately for me, where if I'm holding a note out or I have to hit a high note, I want those to be on vowel sounds, because it's easier to hit those notes when your mouth is open, as opposed to if you were to hit a high note on a consonant. And it's also, it just feels better to hold a vowel sound out. And that's kind of like, I mean, that's kind of songwriting 101, but it was not something that I ever really learned early on. So I would like, I would have these songs, and I would end the line on a consonant and then wonder why it felt so anticlimactic. I don't know. I mean, everything comes differently, and there are days when I don't feel anything at all, and I've not been able to really think of anything at all, and that's that's frustrating, but I just I try to keep a running list of concepts, like in my phone and physically, like in paper and on paper. And whenever I'm meeting with a collaborator, I just try to get into the mood of whatever we're gonna write, and I try not to let other things distract me. And then something will come or it won't.